I'm going to begin, guys, just by asking about updating H.G. Wells, and if you could tell me a little bit about that sort of process, bringing such a famous tale into a contemporary climate.
Well, yeah, the story is obviously a classic one, and H.G. Wells is such an iconic author. I mean, you know, to be someone that's created stories 100 years ago that are still resonating today is next to impossible. There's only a handful of people that have done it, obviously. So I knew I was messing with something that was kind of sacred text, but I also thought the biggest tribute I can pay to this character is not to be slavishly devoted to this original version because it was a different time. You know, science was different. I mean, today you can build an Invisible Man through related to tech. You know, technology is the best way to get there. So, yeah, it wasn't scary. It was kind of exciting. You know.
And I asked this sort of question there was an Emma junket for the Jane Austen novel, so it's a little bit different to this, but in a similar sense, it's a story that's been told a few sort of times. Do you think we can learn a lot about the world we currently inhabit based on kind of reboots of old tales, where they're sort of placed in the kind of timeline?
Oh, I actually think we can learn more because in that's one thing where I think a reboot they are very, when you watch stories that have been told with multiple movies over the the last time I did it was Julius Caesar. I watched a bunch of Julius Caesar takes, and they speak so specifically to the decade that they were done in. The 60, there was one done in the early 70s, and their idea of what Roman times looked like is completely different than what the idea of the 50s Roman times looked like. I think it's really interesting.
I mean, obviously, both of you have been sort of involved in the horror genre. I mean, is there any thrill like watching one of your own films in an audience full of people? Because I mean, I guess comedies are sort of a similar genre in the sense that you get that kind of reaction. But what's it like watching films like this and hearing the gasps and the kind of screams?
He never sits in the theater to watch his own movies, which is very sad. So he has to hear about it. I do. Yeah. I watch.
Do you go to movie theaters on opening day and sit in the theater?
No, I don't do that. A lot of our people at the company do that.
Why don't you do that?
I don't. I've seen the movie enough times. I don't need to go see it again in the theater. But a lot of people do that. Is that what you mean? Looking at the movies after release?
No. Just watching it just for the first time with an audience.
No, I do love.
I do love. I tell you what I love is standing at the back of the theater and watching the audience. I don't watch the movie. I watch their faces, and if you know what's coming, you can see the reaction sort of go through. That's definitely fun.
And can you both ever get sort of scared from watching footage back? Because obviously some of these moments
are scared from watching one of our movies. Have you? No. You ever been scared watching an Insidious movie?
No, too close to it. Yeah, too close to it.
I'm never scared, but I'm scared at other people's scary movies, but not our own.
I remember James Wan when he showed me The Conjuring. That scared me, and I was like, "Wow, this must be what it's like for other people to watch Insidious."
Yeah. Jason, I was wondering if you ever sort of rest because you seem so busy and so many fingers and so many different pies. I mean, when you look at like what you've got coming up, there's so much stuff.
Look at him.
The
guy's exhausted.
I'm exhausted. No, we have a lot. We have 100 people at the company, so it's not just me. For a production company, it's actually quite big. And,
I keep saying in interviews that it's a small company. Well, it's not true at all. No, it feels very familiar.
Very small. I think for the amount of material that we put out, it's small. And for a studio, which sometimes we refer to, it's tiny. For a production company, it's pretty big.
And I was wondering too, just quickly about the casting of the Invisible Man in this instance, and how important it was in choosing the right person for this role, despite the fact they don't have an awful lot of screen time.
Yeah, really important. I didn't want someone who was too recognisable a face that the audience would feel safe with. Terry Taylor, who's the casting agent at Blumhouse, the in-house casting person, she's amazing, and she has this real knack, as Jason will attest, to finding the person who's about to be somebody.
Yeah, she's great.
She 10 minutes after Terry's cast them in something, they become the biggest thing. And so she sent me a self-tape audition that Oliver Jackson Cohen had done, I think, in his flat in London. And it was just, I actually I wasn't familiar with his work. But the audition blew me away because I was like, my God, this guy's getting all these little nuances. There's a tendency with villains to do a little bit of mustache twirling and people play up the villain. And Oliver wasn't doing that at all. He was kind of self-effacing, and I was like, this guy really gets it. And it was just an example of seeing an audition and immediately knowing that that's the guy.
So I like the idea of someone doing audition, just they're not in it. That's how good they are. That's
just
how
an
good
empty
they
chair.
are. Yeah.
He would, it would have been a little
That'd be
joke
good.
for him there. But he actually was really scary by not trying to be scary. You know.
Brilliant. Well, thanks so much, guys. Much appreciated. Cheers.
Thank you.
Cool.